Hi, I'm Victoria. Let's talk about describing people. Today, I'm going to help you learn 82 expressions for describing people. There are 3 different ways to describe people. One of them is to describe their appearance. I have brown hair. The second way is to describe their personality or character. I'm optimistic. The third way is to describe their actions or hobbies. I'm a teacher. I like cats. Today, we're going to specifically focus on how to describe someone's or maybe your personality and character. Have you ever taken a personality test? These kinds of tests try to tell you something new about your character or maybe put you into a category. You are a comforter. You are enthusiastic. You are a pessimist. Personally, I hate almost every personality test. Why do I need a test to tell me about my personality? I already know my personality. You probably learned a lot about me just from that statement. I don't need a test. I don't need someone else to tell me about my personality. Having said that, sometimes personality tests can be really helpful for expanding your vocabulary so that you can accurately describe people. Maybe you just got a new job and you want to tell your husband about your boss. You want to explain your boss's character, or maybe how your boss looks, or some things that your boss does. Or maybe you're on a first date with someone and you want to tell them the wonderful things about your personality. You need to describe yourself. In this lesson, I'm going to give you the vocabulary to accurately describe other people and also yourself. Today, I want to ask you 6 questions to learn more about your personality. The goal is to choose some of these nouns and adjectives and create a sentence or maybe a couple of sentences describing yourself. If you feel like this is too personal, you can kind of create a list for someone else in your life. At the end of this lesson, I have some extra special material. You're going to see a conversation with 5 native English speakers where we try to describe each other. Hopefully, this will help to also expand your vocabulary, but you'll have to wait until the end of this lesson. All right. Let's get started with the first question on this personality test. Personality test question number 1. Are your travel plans generally organized? What about your home and office? Are they pretty tidy? Tidy means clean. Things are orderly. Think about this for a moment. Organized. Tidy. Does this describe you? Think about this for 3 seconds. Choose yes or no. 3, 2, 1. Let's say you decided to say yes. My travel plans are generally organized. My home and office are pretty tidy. Some great adjectives we can use to describe you. I'm organized. I'm put together. I have it together. Here, we're talking about your life. You have your life together. It is organized. I'm organized. I'm put together. I have it together. Or you might say I'm a type. A type is compared to B-type, which we'll talk about in just a moment. A type means that you are quite orderly. There is a place for everything in your life. You might also add a qualifier to some of these expressions. I'm somewhat A-type. I'm kind of A-type. I'm pretty A-type. Here, we're lessening it a little bit. You're not 100% A-type. You're not 100% organized. I'm somewhat organized. Okay, That's fine. Most of us are kind of in the middle of a lot of these categories, so it's good to use these qualifiers. I'm somewhat organized. You might also say, if you said yes to this, that your travel plans are generally organized. You might say, I'm a doer. Doer. Here the root word is do. You do things. You don't just think about them and wait for something to happen. You do things. You take action. I'm a doer. Or you might say simply, I'm clean. Things in my life are clean. I'm a clean person. If you said no to this, no. My travel plans are not orderly. My home and office, they are a wreck. Well, what are some adjectives we can use to describe you? You might be spontaneous or creative. What if you are not A type? You are B type. B type means that you don't always have things orderly. Maybe you tend to be slower at doing things. You think about things a lot. Usually B type people might be a little more of the creative, spontaneous type. That's why you're in this list. Then we have some negative words that we can use to describe these people as well. You might be scatterbrained. Here, we can imagine in your head things are not orderly. They are scattered. Scattered means unorganized. If you say to someone you are scatterbrained, it is not nice. You could say it about yourself. That's fine. I'm scatterbrained. But you don't want to say that about someone else. During today's lesson for these words that are definitely rude to say to someone else, I put a little star beside it so that you know I should probably be careful saying this to other people because these are always negative. The final thing you might say if you said no to this question is, I'm not clean. I'm messy. My life is messy. My house is messy. Just things are not organized. I'm messy. Did you write down some words that relate to your personality? All right. Let's go on to the personality test question number 2. Question number 2. Is it easy to stay relaxed even when you have pressure? Do small events not change how you feel about the rest of the day? Maybe a small negative thing happens and who cares? It doesn't bother you. You can just easily forget about it. Think about these questions. Is it true for you? Yes, I can easily stay relaxed even when there's pressure. Yes, I can easily forget about little annoyances during the day. Or no, it's hard for me to feel relaxed even when there's pressure. Think about this for you, and let's talk about some words in 3, 2, and 1. What if you said yes to this? It's easy for me to feel relaxed even when there's pressure. Yeah. If there's small, annoying things that happen during the day, it doesn't bother me. What are some words we can use to describe you? You could say I'm easygoing. Nothing phases me. I'm optimistic. I'm even-keeled. We talked about this word in a previous lesson where Daniel and I talked about our relationship, our marriage together. He said that I'm even-keeled. This is a great word. You might say I'm confident. I'm calm. I'm rational. These are all things that you might use to describe you if you said, yeah, I can easily stay relaxed even when there's pressure. What about if you said no to this question? What if you said no, I don't easily feel relaxed. I'm often not relaxed. I'm often stressed. What are some words we can use to describe you? We might say, I'm sensitive. This means that things affect you easily. It's not always a negative thing. Of course, it depends on the situation. If you're applying for a high-stress job, you don't want to say I'm sensitive. It probably means you're not a good fit for the position, but this could be just to describe you personally. I'm sensitive. Or maybe you might say I'm emotional. Your emotions play a big part in your life. Another way to say emotional is moody. Moody is always a negative thing. This means you're in a good mood. You're in a bad mood, and you're swinging between those moods, and there's no rhyme or reason. That means there's no predictability. One day or one moment you feel like this, and the next day or the next moment you feel like this. You're moody. This is stronger than emotional. This is much more negative than emotional, so don't tell someone you're moody. Especially if they are moody, it won't go well. Do you know what the opposite of optimistic is? You might be pessimistic. Pessimistic means that the glass is half empty. The glass is not half full. The glass is half empty. This is an expression that means you always see maybe the negative side or what if this happens. You're always asking what if in kind of that negative way. Of course, it's good to balance being optimistic and pessimistic, but these are the two extremes. The next 5 words mean something very similar, and they're all negative. I don't recommend telling someone else that they are these things. Of course, you can say them about yourself if you would like. You might say, I'm uptight. Tight. We can kind of imagine something inside of you is maybe twisted or tight, and inside of you, you don't feel relaxed. You're uptight. Or maybe you're anxious. You can say, I'm anxious, and that describes your personality, but you might just be anxious about one thing. I'm anxious about my exam tomorrow. Okay. Maybe in general, you're not an anxious person, but you're anxious about that specific activity. That's fine. That's not really describing your personality. Every day I'm often anxious. No, it's just one specific thing, or you might be high-strung. High-strung has that same feeling of uptight, anxious, and high-strung. Or you might be a worrier. A worrier. She is a worrier. That means that she worries a lot. This defines her personality. She's a worrier. Or we might say neurotic. He's neurotic. She's neurotic. I'm neurotic. This is quite strong. You are uptight, and a lot of things bother you. Let's go on to personality test question number 3. There are actually 3 questions in one here. They are: is it difficult to introduce yourself to new people? Do you feel tired after you spend time with a group of people? Is a good book or a good movie more interesting than a social event? Think about those questions for a moment. Is it difficult to introduce yourself to new people? How do you feel when you get together with a group of people? Do you feel tired? Think about that for a moment. If the answer is yes or no. 3, 2, 1. Let's imagine that you said, yeah, it's difficult to introduce myself to people. I think that when I get together with a group of people, I feel so tired. I would rather read a good book or watch a movie than go to a social event. If you said yes to this, let's talk about some adjectives that can describe you. You could say, I'm reserved, I'm shy, I'm timid, I'm introverted, or just simply I prefer small groups. I know some people are like this. They don't like big groups. They would rather get together with just one other person, or maybe 2 or 3 other people, not a group of 20 people. I prefer small groups. I'm introverted. I'm reserved. I'm shy. I'm timid. These are all great words. What about if you said no? I feel energetic when I get together with a group of people. I would rather go to a social outing. It's no problem to introduce myself to new people. What are some words we can use to describe you? You could say I'm outgoing. I'm the life of the party. Now, for this expression, it's probably better that someone else says this about you just because it's maybe not so humble if you say, I'm the life of the party. It means that everybody loves me. People love talking with me. It's probably better if your friend said, yeah, Victoria, she's the life of the party, instead of me saying it about myself. But this might be an expression you can use to talk about someone like this. Or you might be the opposite of introverted, extroverted. You are at ease in social situations. You take initiative. You are social. This word initiative is a beautiful word. We can imagine that when there are 2 people maybe in a gathering and they both are kind of looking at each other, but they don't really want to start a conversation. The person who starts the conversation, that person takes initiative. They took that opportunity. If you have no problem introducing yourself to other people, or maybe asking questions at a store, you take initiative. Let's go on to question number 4 of this personality test. Do you often get lost in thought and kind of forget your surroundings? Do you often think about the meaning of life? Do you get lost in thought? Things are going on in your head and you're thinking about those things, not the things about you. Do you often think about the meaning of life? What is life? Think about this question. Is it true for you? Is it not true for you? 3, 2, 1. Let's imagine that you said, yeah, I do often kind of get lost in thought. Yeah, I do think about the meaning of life often. What are some words we use to describe you? You might say, I'm deep. Now, this is an expression kind of like I'm the life of the party, that it's not so humble. If someone is deep, this is a compliment. It means that they have a lot of wisdom. It's probably better for you to say it about someone else. I really like talking to my cousin. He's so deep. He has such interesting thoughts. Instead of saying it about yourself. You may also say, I care about finding truth. This is another way deep. I care about finding truth. Or you might be the kind of person who is critical. I'm critical of things. If someone tells me something, I often question it. Is it true? Is that real? On the negative side, you might say cynical. Cynical is always a negative word, and that just means that, yes, that person asks questions, but they always doubt. They're not just asking questions, but they're always doubting. Is that true? There's no way that that's true. They're cynical. They're always doubting. If you often get lost in thought, you might say, I'm a dreamer. I often like to daydream. I'm lost in my own world. I live in my head. They're not things that you want to say in a job interview, but they're not necessarily bad, so you can say them to your friends or say them about yourself. If you want to say this in a negative way, you could say, I'm a million miles away, or she's a million miles away. She's not paying attention. She is a million miles away. That's pretty negative. Then, if you want to be really negative, you could say, I'm an airhead. We can imagine your head is filled with nothing but air. I'm often lost in thought, and I forget the things around me. I am an airhead. This is a similar category as someone who often thinks about things, but it's quite different from being deep. If you're deep, your head is filled with a lot of thoughts. But then, on the negative side, you might say airhead for having no thoughts. You're often lost in your own world. You're often in your head, but you're not thinking about anything. Just an airhead. What if you said, no, I'm not often lost in thought. I don't really think about the meaning of life that often. Life is life. No. Why would I care what the meaning of life is? What would you say on the other side? You could say I'm alert. You don't often get lost in your thoughts because you're looking around. You are alert to the things going on around you. You notice little details. Maybe people who are lost in thought, they're not thinking about the physical details around them. They don't realize there's a cup over there my friend just walked by. If you are alert, you're noticing those things. You might also say, I'm detail-oriented. You notice lots of little details, or you might say, I'm astute. These are great things for a job interview. I'm detail-oriented. I'm alert and astute. This means that you will not forget little things, because you are organized. You are able to keep track of physical details. Similar to alert, you might say aware. I'm aware of my surroundings. You're not lost in your head. You are aware. Or you might be a realist. A realist. This is quite the opposite of somebody who's thinking about the meaning of life. Well, if I think about the meaning of life, I'm never going to really find out, so why would I waste my time? A realist would say that. If you think, you might be a realist, or you might just be practical. Practical and a realist are both quite similar. You are practical. You're not going to waste your time if you know that something won't be profitable or won't be helpful. I don't think it's really helpful to contemplate the meaning of life. I'm just practical. This might be something you can use to describe you. Let's go on to the next question. Personality test question number 5. When you want something, do you often not change your mind? When you want something, do you often not change your mind? Think about this. Is that true for you? You don't change your mind, or I'll say I change my mind. Well, it's not so serious for me. Think about this. 3, 2, 1. Let's imagine that you said, yes, it is true for me. When I want something, I don't often change my mind. What are some words we can use to describe you? We could say, you are diligent. You're motivated. I want to study English. I'm going to become fluent in English. I'm going to feel more confident in English, and I will be diligent. I will study every day. I'm motivated. I will study every day. You want something and you are not going to be distracted. These are positive expressions. They're great for job interviews. They're great general personality traits. There are some negative ways to describe this as well, though. You might be stubborn. We have a lovely idiom, stubborn as a mule. Or we might say you are headstrong. Headstrong, this means stubborn. When you want something, you often refuse to think about other options. I want this. I want this. I want this. I'm not going to think about other things. I'm stubborn. Or you might be adamant. Adamant, this means that you stick with your opinion. Let's imagine that you're a teenager and your mom says, I heard that you were drinking beer with some friends behind the school. You say, No, Mom, I wasn't doing that. I don't know who you were talking with, but it wasn't me behind the school doing that. She says, Well, I heard from this person that you were doing it. You stick with your opinion. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. There's no way that was me. You are adamant that that person was not you. You are adamant about something. This means that you refuse to change your story about something. You are adamant. You also might be opinionated. You have opinions, and you're not really afraid to share them. This isn't necessarily a negative thing to be opinionated. Of course, if you are opinionated, if you have strong opinions, especially if these are opinions that are not shared with a lot of other people, it's great to be careful about how you present them, about how you share them with other people so that they don't think that you are pushy. Pushy is always a negative thing. If you are opinionated, you need to talk about it in a specific way so that you don't become pushy, pushing your opinions on people. You might be persistent. This is similar to adamant, but it's in a negative way. You are persistent. I wasn't drinking behind the school. That wasn't me. You are persistently keeping with the same opinion. Persistent. Or maybe you have a 3-year-old and that 3-year-old is asking for candy. I want candy. Mom, I want candy. I want candy. That 3-year-old is persistent. They are wanting it, and they're telling you again and again and again. You might hear the word bossy. I'm bossy. She's so bossy. He's bossy. This is similar to persistent. Adamant, you're telling someone, you should do this. You should do this. You do this. You do this. Like a boss, but usually if you're a good boss, you don't act like that. You're much kinder. But we use the term bossy for people who have an opinion and they're not really going to change it in this negative way. What if you said the opposite thing to this question? What if you said, actually, sometimes I do change my mind? I don't always stick with exactly what I say I want every single time. What are some other words we can use? You could say I'm flexible, I'm compliant, I'm reasonable, I'm open-minded, I'm agreeable. These are all positive things, but what if we take this to an extreme? You might say I'm submissive. This means that you never stand up for yourself. To stand up for yourself means that you have something you want and you never tell other people. You are submissive, maybe too submissive. Or we can use a great expression I often get walked on. Get walked on. If you have an opinion and you always change it depending on what other people want, we can imagine that you are like a doormat. This is the thing that you walk on to enter a house. This is you. People are always walking on you. I often get walked on. Your desires, your needs often get forgotten because you don't stand up for yourself. I often get walked on. You could say that about someone else. Yeah, He often gets walked on because he doesn't feel comfortable standing up for what he wants. He doesn't feel comfortable pushing what he wants, so he just gets walked on. Let's go to the next question. Question number 6. This is our final personality test question. When people come over to your house, when guests come to your house, do they feel comfortable? Do you go above and beyond what is necessary to take care of them? This is a great expression. Go above and beyond. Maybe it's necessary to give them a glass of water. When a guest comes to your house, you say, "Sit on the couch. Here's a glass of water." But maybe you go above and beyond. You do more than that so that your guests feel comfortable. Is that true for you? Do your guests feel comfortable? Do you do more than is necessary? Think about that for a moment. Is it true or not true for you? 3, 2, 1. Let's say that this is true for you, that you make your guests feel comfortable and you do more than is necessary. Let's talk about a lot of adjectives that we could use to describe you. You are hospitable, nice, and friendly. But here is a big warning. If you come from France, Italy, Spain, Brazil, Portugal, these romantic language countries do not, warning, warning, warning. Do not say sympathetic. You do not say he is sympathetic. She is sympathetic. This does not mean nice in English. This is a false friend, and I hear a lot of people say this. Instead, in English, we do have the word sympathetic. This means that maybe your brother lost his job, and when you go over to his house, you bring him some flowers, and you bring him a meal, and you sit down and talk with him. You talk about that difficult, hard time in his life because you are sympathetic to his difficulty. We usually have a difficult situation happening, and you didn't personally experience that difficult thing, but you feel his difficulty. You feel his pain. You are sympathetic. Here, we're using it in a completely different sense than friendly. Friendly just means you're nice. But if someone has a difficult situation, you are sympathetic to their problem. You understand. I think my brother is really sad right now. He's probably worried about the future. You are understanding his difficult times. I hope I explained this word sympathetic so that you do not use it and say, "Victoria, you're so sympathetic." No, 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 no. Don't use that. What are some other words we can use? You could say, "I'm compassionate. I'm considerate. I'm generous." This means you give maybe your time or your money to other people. You could say, "I'm warm. I'm warm-hearted." This means that people feel this warm feeling when they're with you. They feel like you're such a friendly person. You could say, "I'm helpful. I'm down to earth." Down to earth is an expression that we use to mean you are relatable. People feel like your life is not so different from theirs. You often hear this word described with celebrities. Celebrities, movie stars, they have lives that are much different than our own, so they seem kind of untouchable, so different, but maybe there is one celebrity who relates to the problems of normal people. Someone might say, "Yeah, she's really down to earth. She's down to earth. Her feet are on the earth. She's down to earth." Or you might say she's sincere, she's genuine, she's really herself, She's not faking it. She's dependable, or I'm dependable. Your friends know that they can depend on you. What if you said no to this? I imagine that you probably didn't say no to this about yourself, but you probably know somebody like this. Let's talk about the opposite. Someone who is maybe not so generous, not so considerate, or so friendly. Let's talk about the opposite. Maybe you know someone who is unpleasant. This is a little bit of a nicer way to say they're so annoying. They're such a terrible person. You could just say, yeah, he's kind of unpleasant. I don't really like working with him. Unpleasant. Or someone might be selfish. They're not generous. They don't like to go above and beyond. They're kind of selfish. Or maybe you know someone who is self-centered. The world revolves around their life. They are self-centered. Their self is the center of the universe. They're self-centered. How did you do? How did you answer all of these 6 personality test questions? I hope you wrote down some adjectives that you can use to describe yourself. Write that sentence down in the comments. But before we go, I'd like to share some extra material with you today. You're going to see 5 native speakers. They are 3 friends, plus my husband, plus me. We are attempting to describe each other. I sat down with each of my friends individually and asked, how would you describe this person? How would you describe that person? I didn't tell them specifically to describe their personality or their character, but you'll see that a lot of these people, they did describe their physical appearance a little bit. But most of these descriptions had to do with their personality or character. You're going to hear some of the words that we just talked about, and maybe you'll hear some new words as well. Let's start with my friend Eliza. You're going to meet Eliza, Hazel, Laurel, and Daniel. They're going to be describing each other. Let's see what everyone has to say about Eliza. Let's watch. Eliza. Hi, I'm Eliza. Hazel. Gosh, Eliza is witty and sarcastic to a fault. Victoria. I'd say so. Hazel. She's super inquisitive and very literate. I'd say that's a very good description of her. Victoria. For sure. That's something that I first recognized about Eliza is she's really inquisitive. She asks great questions. Hazel. She's curious about life. Yeah, I'd say she's adventurous for some things like travel or things like that. Not so much food. She's very loyal friend. Laurel. Eliza is very sarcastic and smart, quick-witted. She's funny, and she has nice, pretty long brown hair. Victoria. That's true. Daniel. I would describe Eliza as very curious. Out of many people I know, not many people will ask you questions a lot. When Eliza asks you a question, she'll ask more and more questions, which I'm not hating on. I think it's great. She's also very assertive. Whenever she has an opinion, she usually makes it very clear. It's not hidden in any way. She's also very friendly, though, so the assertiveness doesn't get in the way of her friendliness. Her friendliness shines through. Victoria. You just heard some amazing adjectives to describe the wonderful person of Eliza. Let's go on to the second person. You're going to meet Hazel, and let's see how everyone describes Hazel. Hazel. Hi, I'm Hazel. Eliza. Hazel is a short little person and she has brown hair and amazing freckles and she's very creative. She's an introvert. She's a good painter. She's very smart. She's well-traveled. Victoria. Those are all true things. Laurel. Hazel is short like me and she's kind of got some... She's dry-humored, so very subtle, also very smart and well-traveled. She's lived in lots of different places. Daniel. Hazel. Hazel is very reserved. Yet when you get to know her, she's very fun-loving. She's also very curious. She's kind of geeky. She likes Harry Potter and Star Wars and stuff like that. Yeah, she's very fun, and if you get together with her at a party, you're going to have a good time. Victoria. I hope you enjoyed those adjectives to describe Hazel. Let's go on to Laurel. How does everyone describe Laurel? Laurel. Hi, I'm Laurel. Eliza. Laurel is also a short little person. She's got sort of blondish brown hair, sort of a darker shade of blonde. She has glasses. She, to me, is very businesslike, and she likes to tell stories with a lot of detail, which are always interesting. Hazel. Laurel is short, with short hair, glasses, and I think she's a geek. Victoria. Could you explain what you mean by geek? Is that her interests? Hazel. Yes. A little bit about her interests. She's, like Eliza, curious about different knowledge and stuff. She loves Star Wars, Harry Potter. Victoria. Exactly. That kind of stuff. Hazel. Harry Potter. Movies. She's definitely a movie buff. She can remember almost everything. All these weird random details. Victoria. Her mind is like a steel trap. Hazel. Yes. Victoria. She knows everything. Hazel. Yeah. I think she's also a very loyal friend and very caring. Victoria. Yeah. I've been friends with her for 10 years and I feel like she is that kind of person. Hazel. She makes an effort. Victoria. Yeah. Hazel. She makes an effort in her relationships, I think. Victoria. Yeah. That's a great quality. Hazel. Yeah. Very much. Daniel. Laurel. Laurel is very loyal, I would say. When she's your friend for life. She'll remember you, and she's very detail-oriented. She'll remember all the details of your relationship. I don't mean this in a bad way. I just mean there's always somebody in your life who gives all those details about your life. She also knows a lot about, from my perspective, a lot about pop culture. She's always filling me in on the details, and maybe I understand something that she also understands, and we can have a funny conversation about that. Usually, Victoria doesn't understand. Victoria. Yeah. I don't know much about pop culture, so Laurel is my window into this world. She allows me to learn that stuff. Victoria. I hope you learned some great words with those explanations. Let's go on to my husband Daniel and see what everyone else has to say about Daniel. Daniel. Hi, I'm Daniel. Eliza. Daniel. Daniel is so fun. Daniel is this tall, skinny ginger. He's got very great, amazing red hair. He always has a lot of energy. I think he's always like, I'm Daniel. Victoria. He does have a lot of energy. Eliza. I feel like, Has a lot of strong opinions about things, which I really like. He's married to you and has a baby. Victoria. That is true. Those are all true facts. Eliza. I think he's very relaxed in some ways, but also cares about details in other ways, which is kind of hard to describe, but it's true. Victoria. That is true. Hazel. Daniel is a tall, skinny redhead. Victoria. That is the first thing Eliza said too. Hazel. I think he is very creative. I would probably describe him as adventurous, not afraid to take risks, inquisitive, opinionated. I think he has opinions and he's set in his way, but I think he's also open for discussion. Victoria. Okay. Hazel. Yeah. Laurel. Daniel. Oh, Daniel. Victoria. Other people said that too. Daniel. Oh, Daniel. Laurel. Daniel is thin, and he has red hair, very red hair. He can be kind of loud and enthusiastic. That's a good word for Daniel. Victoria. Enthusiastic. Laurel. He's very intelligent too, and adventurous. He's into lots of different things and learning. He likes to learn. Victoria. Those were some great adjectives to describe Daniel. Oops, I forgot to say that my friends are also going to describe me. Here we go. Eliza. You're just so delightful. That was my first word for you. Not just because you're in the room, but because you are just delightful. Victoria. That's so nice. Eliza. You have an effervescent personality. I feel like you're very uplifting for other people. You bring a lot of joy to people. I feel like you always seem like you have it together. That's definitely my most overarching impression of you, is you have it together. You're also a very good host. You're excellent with hospitality. Victoria. Thank you. Eliza. Obviously, we share a love of reading, so I know that you're very well read. I like that you get very interested in specific topics. Victoria. Whenever the topic... Eliza. Whenever we read a book, she's like, I went and did research, and I found this out and this and this. It was just very interesting. Victoria. I think that's quite true that when I'm interested in something, I'm really interested. Eliza. You go all the way. Victoria. Just go into it. Yeah. Well, thank you for your kind words. Eliza. Yes. Hazel. Victoria. Victoria. Tell me what you think. Hazel. I think you're probably one of the kindest people I've ever met. I think you're just very genuinely nice. Victoria. Thanks. That's really sweet. Hazel. I could be wrong. Victoria. You know when you're not around, Hazel. I'm evil. Hazel. I think you're also very inquisitive and very literate. Victoria. I like to read. Hazel. I think you are very curious about the world and people like this. I think where you and Daniel fit well together, he seems super creative, comes up with ideas, but you're very good at implementing ideas. I think you're good at keeping people on task. Victoria. Okay. Hazel. Focusing on the point. Victoria. Yes. Hazel. I think you need that. You run your own business, so I think that is a good quality. Victoria. Yeah, got to be able to focus. Hazel. Yes, exactly. Victoria. That's great. Hazel. I think you are very good at having fun, but also getting the work done. Victoria. Being serious when I need to be serious. Hazel. Exactly. Laurel. Victoria is kind and warm and likes to learn as well, well-traveled also, and you have pretty brown hair too. Victoria. Thank you. Daniel. Victoria. Victoria. No pressure. I'm your wife. I'm sitting right here. Daniel. Number one adjective is wonderful. Victoria. Thank you. Daniel. Victoria is probably the nicest person on earth. By nicest, I mean almost just like sincere. She's always very sincere, very caring, very curious, always sincerely interested in most people's topics. Like I'll hear even a boring person say something and she'll be like, "Oh, well, very interesting." I don't think she's making it up either. I think she's seriously very interested. Victoria. Yeah, life is interesting. Everyone has something interesting if you listen close enough. Daniel. Yes. She's also very fun-loving. You can do a lot with her. Obviously, I like Victoria a lot because I decided to marry her. Victoria. I'm glad you like me a lot. Daniel. We get along very well, and I like, about 99% of Victoria. Victoria. Thank you. I won't ask about the 1% yet. I hope you've enjoyed today's long, intense English vocabulary lesson. Now, I have a challenge for you. In the comments below this video, I want you to try to write a sentence or two or three describing yourself, or maybe describing someone else in your life. Try to fill it with these wonderful adjectives. Some of these are nouns as well, to describe yourself. It's a great way to remember them. Try to ingrain them in your memory. Thanks so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more lessons. Thanks so much. Bye.